All right, we're going to go ahead and open the meeting of December 9th, 2024. It's 7 o'clock. We'll start with a roll call.
Dave Gavigan.
Tom Bouchard.
Jonathan Barnett.
We're missing Alexander and Bob tonight, but we have enough for a quorum. We have 3 members here, and we have a limited agenda. First on our agenda is a 7:01, perfect. Site plan review, 40 Evergreen Street, group home. So do we have someone that wants to speak to this, or, well, not you homeowners?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody from this that wants to speak to this online?
And David?
David, you there?
Yes, hi, this is David Sullivan. I'm the Vice President of Real Estate and Facilities for Elwyn.
Okay. You have our attention?
So I didn't know I was speaking. I'm just getting filled in. I'm relatively new at Elwyn. So I was up there a few weeks ago, or maybe about a month or two ago, and from what I understood, we were just, pretty much everything was good to go. They were just doing a final review of the parking. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what the delay is or what the issue is. So that's why I'm jumping on.
Yeah, and our contractor is also our contractor.
Contractor as well? Who's the contractor?
Right up there to the right, top right.
What's it, is there a name for them?
Willens, yeah. Willens, can you hear us? Yeah.
He's got to turn on his mic.
I'm sorry, you asking me a question? My apologies.
No, I'm looking for the contractor to speak. What's his name?
Willens and Paula.
Willen?
I think he has on mute.
Yes,
Yeah.
Can you unmute your computer, Willen?
Hello.
You there
This is
now?
Williams here.
We got you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I might have missed something. Just got in.
No, if you're going to speak, you go to the mic.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Who's the first guy? David from the real estate? Just said that he is new on the scene, but he said you're here as well. Do you have anything to add to this discussion? All right, why don't we go to Val? Val, why don't you explain some of the issues?
Okay,
That
so,
the real estate guy didn't know what David didn't know what the delay was. If you want to explain some of the issues, that would be great.
yeah, so we're talking about site plan review for 48 Evergreen Street here in Kingston, map 35, lots 21 and 22. The applicant is Elwyn Adult Behavioral Health Services of New Bedford, and they are subject to site plan review, and to the extent that we're looking at parking. Do they have adequate, bulk and massing? Because it's an exempt use under Chapter 48 state law, but they're still subject to site plan review. And one of the things that's required is they come through the planning board for site plan review, which looks at parking. And we have a building that they're just renovating, so we're not looking at massing. No. But we are looking at parking, and the site plan that we have is an existing conditions plan with some information that's been superimposed on the existing conditions plan for parking. And what we don't have is a parking design that would meet the requirements of ADA, so it's not an acceptable site plan. And we've given this information to the applicant almost a week ago, so I'm surprised that the new person hasn't had a chance to review my report. But we have gone through this with a local representative of Elwyn, and I don't think there's any misunderstanding from their perspective that these issues exist. One is that the property still owes taxes to the town, and so we're not, under our general bylaws, allowed to issue a permit to a property that has an outstanding tax balance. So I've advised them of that. They don't own the property, but they're a proposed tenant, but we still can't issue a permit to the property with that issue. They've designed a septic system for the property, but the sewer commission has determined that by law, they have to tie into the sewer system. And we've asked them to respond to that, but we haven't gotten a response. So we don't show any design on the plans to tie into the sewer system, but we would have that be a condition. There's no information on water supply, and we know that we have a water moratorium, so I've advised the local representative that we need to know whether the 7 bedrooms that they're proposing would be serviced adequately by flow and pressure in the existing service line that goes to the house, but we don't know the answer to that, and that would be, if any change.
I met with the commissioner who said we were good to go with the exception of a site plan review. So I'm a little bit taken back when, that's why I'm asking the question, when the issue of a water comes up, because that wouldn't normally, correct me if I'm wrong, that normally wouldn't come up on the site plan review. I would have assumed that would have been addressed or asked already.
It
But
has
when we
not
met in
been.
person-
It has not been, and so I'm just bringing it to your attention because in our town, the site plan review process is the one that circulates that information to the Water Commission and the Sewer Commission for comment. And so the idea that you had a septic system shown on the plans will not be adequate for the Sewer Commission, and you need to prove out the adequate flow and pressure for your water system, regardless of the site plan review process.
Okay, I understand. Again, that's where my confusion was coming, because when I was up there, and I believe, again, I can get the person who I met with, which I
Jason
believe was
Silva,
the
who no
commissioner.
longer works for the town of Kingston.
Okay, so I guess, there you go. So that's where the confusion is, because he said we were all good to go.
He did not
that's-
review it with the Water Commission or the Sewer Commission, who have offered their comment in writing, and we've shared that with you.
Use attorney and all that stuff, so that we can get this through the finish line, because it's been months and months and months, and I'm just trying to get it to the finish line. And it does seem like every time we go, there's another thing. And I understand, he's no longer there, so we'll start new, we'll get information, we'll document everything, and we'll go forward.
All right, so you seem a little chippy, so I'm going to step in here.
Sir, I'm not chippy, I was trying to explain, and if anything, the woman who was just talking to me was chippy and cutting me off, which is why.
No, she was answering your questions, so
Okay.
it's my turn to speak. So
Great.
you're definitely a little chippy. I want to say this. First of all, we don't even have to hear this tonight because there's taxes owed on the property. So
Okay.
we're doing this out of the goodness of our heart. And so keep that in mind. We don't even have to open this up at all because of the taxes owed. Do you have any idea when the taxes will be paid?
So that was just brought to my attention today, so I will certainly address it. So I appreciate you, speaking to me, and I understand. And again, I'm just trying to get clarity because I'm coming in, later. So now, I will give you my direct email address and we can correspond, and I will quickly get you whatever answers you need and whatever we need to fulfill to get this project to the finish line.
All right, so Val is going to explain to you again, if you're the person to speak to,
Yep.
about what you need for your site plan and your parking. We will not bring up the water or sewer again. You'll have to deal with those on your own.
Okay.
But we will bring up this parking issue. And Val, could you explain that one more time?
Right, so the parking plan that's shown does not meet ADA requirements. It's a superimposed, which can't be constructed, is causing some flooding problems on the adjacent property to the east per photographs that have been shared with the building commissioner. And we're also lacking any landscaping on the plans, which is required for the number of parking spaces that are shown.
Great. And I have one question. I know you had said you had shared this with the local person. Could you possibly email me these findings? And then this way I can relay it to my team? And we can get you whatever answers or whatever revised plans we need to submit.
Sure, I've emailed it to Elwin. I'm certainly happy to email it to you when I get your information.
Okay. That would be terrific.
So right now, staff is recommending that we continue the site plan review until we have an engineered site plan that addresses the parking lot grading, surface treatment and stormwater, and landscaping for the required screening.
I'm sorry, cut it. Are you recommending you continue or not continue? I didn't hear that. My apologies.
Continue.
We will
Until we have a
continue
site
and,
plan.
I'm just,
okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I was asking.
I haven't said anything else.
Okay.
Board members,
So my,
do we
my
want to
question
hear
was,
from, this is not a hearing, so anytime we offer up to the public or anybody else is a gift. So do we want to do that, or do we want to wait for the taxes to be paid?
Well, they're here. It'd be nice to know now what some of the issues may be. It might help us.
I agree with you.
So,
All right, is there anybody that'd like to speak to this? Give us your name and address, and then you can go ahead.
Chris Veraca, my wife and I live, Tammy, we live at 52 Evergreen Street. We are the servient lot of the easement that goes to 48 Evergreen Street. We have some great concerns with this project, with overburdening of the easement. We did spend 8 years in and out of court over the use of this easement for commercial purposes that was eventually shut down from business was being performed out back there because of overburdening of the easement through the court system. But we have other concerns. I wrote a letter to submit to the planning board. I'll read it to you. Dear planning board members, our name is Chris and Tammy Veraca. We reside at 52 Evergreen Street in Kingston. We can limit some of that. The proposal group home to the rear of our property at 40 Evergreen Street has been brought to our attention, and we have the following concerns and questions regarding the proposed plans. Our property is a servient lot to 48 Evergreen Street through an easement. We own the property. We pay taxes on that property. It's our backyard where our children play. 50 Evergreen Street is a subservient lot to service 48 Evergreen Street to the rear of our house. Our first question is, why hasn't any notification been made to any of the abutters for this project? I mean, it's a significant project that will take away from the safety of our driveway and our backyard, along with the peaceful enjoyment of our property that we've invested a lot of money in. Other concerns we have of easement maintenance during the winter months. What do you do for snow removal? We don't want salt. We don't want de-icing agents used in our property. We don't use it ourselves. We're concerned about the runoff that's going to destroy vegetation. The environmental impact that that's going to have is a great concern of ours. Our neighbors, they have a small stream that runs through their backyard. That's kind of the low spot. So any de-icing agents you use are going to impact that eventually dumps into Blackwater Swamp, which is a very precious wetland swamp area on the other side of the street. So there's concerns about that. 40 Evergreen Street is a retreat lot with no frontage on a public way, which requires access over 52 and 50 Evergreen Streets, private back, or wiffle ball, or any of those games. When that ball goes out and there's traffic coming down, we have great concerns, safety for that. Like I said, we spent 8 years in and out of court over this easement. And, we don't want to get into that ball of wax again because it just wasn't a nice event. We were happy with the outcome. We've learned to live with the outcome as a single-family home, not as a business, with commercial use. We do understand that there is a need for homes of this sort and housing in this town. We just don't feel it's the best location. If we wanted to live on a corner lot, we would have bought a corner lot. We bought what we bought on the street. But to have a main thoroughfare put in that's going to be utilized with multiple trips in and out, or the potential for multiple trips, is a great concern to us. We just hope that the planning board would take these thoughts and considerations in, and also with the proposers of that. The other questions we have is, the number of residences that will be in there. How many residents will be in there at any given time? It's proposed as a 7-bedroom home to come in to transport. Just up the street, there's a group home, and we see the number of trips that happen there with emergency vehicles and residents. there's solid waste disposal, package deliveries, fuel deliveries, how's that all gonna get in there? Property maintenance, building maintenance, all that, it's all gonna be the burden of us as the servient, and our neighbors behind us as the subservient lot. And it's just gonna impact the peaceful enjoyment of our backyards that we're concerned about. That's all that I have to say right now.
Thank you. The only question I'm going to answer on that right now is us, or the town, notifying the neighbors and,
Place. And if you pave that, it's gonna have to go into our neighbor's yard. It's on the bottom of a hill. They'll get runoff from the public way that I have to mitigate, and then added water, hydraulic loading from that. And then couple that with a smooth surface, it's gonna increase speeds. And it's gonna get, I don't want a tragedy to happen in my backyard.
how many lots does the easement go over? Just yours?
It traverses over 52 and 50 Evergreen Streets property.
52 and 50?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's an easement over 2 separate private properties.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
This as well, I should have passed it out earlier. Hi, my name's Craig Belmore. I live at 54 Evergreen Street. We are the direct abutter to the easement that goes past Chris's lot all the way back to the proposed lot at 48 Evergreen Street. And I wanted to echo Chris's concerns, especially from our standpoint of being the lower approach here. That flooding ends up going into an area where I still have a 40-foot pine stand, and those trees' roots are fairly shallow. Those trees stand next to my house. They stand next to the barn that's a part of our property. And in the packet that I've just given, I've taken pictures of last April's rains when we had a ton of flooding back there that was brand new since the compacting had happened on that easement for the I'm trying to think of the word, the redoing of the property. Basically, when they redid the driveway, the flooding got worse in the back. We have a dog pen back there we weren't able to use because it was under 2 to 3 inches of water. As conditions stand, I'm even more concerned when we add a hard top to that, when we add chemicals to deal with ice and snow, what that's going to. I do remember when we bought the property that we live on about 20 years ago at this point, there was a logging business that was run out of that back property that had to be shut down because it's zoned for residential area. I'm not an expert on zoning, so I don't quite understand how we're even considering a business back there. Concerned also about the amount of lighting that would end up having to be part of the property back there. Right now at night, it's black. It's dark back there. It's peaceful. It's an oasis. I echo my neighbor's concern about the traffic. I would add there's also occasional confusion about deliveries where I end up having packages coming to my house with between UPS. Post office has figured it out because they're local, but UPS, FedEx, et cetera, will often deliver to my property by mistake and end up having to go elsewhere. I'm concerned with the business having those deliveries that I'm going to end up with those things, et cetera. And that is essentially the basis of my concerns. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to air them.
Yeah, Val, could you explain their exemption from zoning? The
Yeah.
applicants.
Under Chapter 40A, there are certain uses that are exempt, for the most part, from zoning. And this includes residential educational program for adults, which is what this is. It's a proposed use, so it's exempt.
Okay. Thank you. And the contact or opportunity to talk that would be an appropriate venue if this is not it?
This is it.
This is it. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
As Craig mentioned, some of the concerns, would there be signage that we place at the street to signify this operation? And if there's signage, is there requirements or limitations on where that sign would be, how it would be placed? Because it would have to be placed either on my property or on the Belmore's property. So I think that's, things that would like to be addressed. What type of mailbox is it? Is it going to be a big cluster mailbox to accommodate residents? Would that be down at the house, or would that be out at the street? You know, currently there's a mailbox at the street, so how would that work? One other, question I have is lighting. You know, I know most places that have public access have to have public lighting, 24-hour public lighting. Common areas have to be lit. Driveways, parking lots have to be lit. Would that mean that there'd be driveway lights running down through my backyard to illuminate their driveway for access? You know, what kind of light pollution would that?
Help us understand why the number of parking spaces proposed are proposed. So that would be helpful.
Real quick.
The part of the packet that I gave to you had pictures of the flooding in the back. That was submitted to the building office as well, and we have not heard a reply. Just
The building
back early in
commissioner wrote a
July.
letter to us.
Say again?
The building commissioner wrote a letter, which the Elwin has a copy of, talking about that you've offered up that there might be a flooding problem.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Was that Paul's letter?
Yes.
Yeah, I would have read it into the record, but he's a lefty and he prints, and I
I can write it in.
Can't- I
Do you
can't
want me
read
to read it into the
Yeah,
record?
sure. Please.
Southeast corner and beyond. I see no information on the plan that addresses runoff or landscaping requirements of zoning bylaw section 9(5)J. I have concerns as to the viability of several of the proposed parking spaces shown. Surface slope changes within several individual parking spaces show slope changes of well over 2 feet within the span of one space. No grading details address this. For design relevance, if not for the jurisdictional compliance, the Mass AAB regulations specify that parking lots and passenger loading zones maintain a maximum surface slope of 2% in all directions. This general provisions section of the zoning bylaw applies to all zoning districts. Bylaw section 95M2 requires parking lots for 6 or more cars to be screened. The plans do not show this, and the requirements need to be addressed on the site plan.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for writing. Want to speak to this?
I think there's a lot of concerns are going on in this project, so that have to be addressed. It's kind of obvious. It's pretty straightforward. Homeowners' concerns, lot going on here that needs to be addressed. So taxes, all that gets reviewed, gets done, gets paid. We kind of go through it and see the appropriate site plan, and then we can talk further on it.
So it looks like this project includes upsizing the building, right, making it larger, bringing sewer.
Does taxes be paid? And I will check before we make another date to continue this to. We can continue it. Can we continue this? And
We don't have to continue it. It's not a public hearing. We needed the revised site plan, and we need time to
Yeah,
review
we
it.
usually do, but what we
Yeah.
can do is, I'm going to check with town council. I don't think we need to hear from this again until taxes are paid. I don't think we even had to hear anything tonight. But we did, and so, David, you have your marching orders, and you people are involved as well? Do you want to speak to this?
I don't know, I'd like to just maybe take a few minutes to address.
Hi, so this is David, if I may, just real quick.
Hold on.
Hang on, somebody's speaking.
Someone's speaking.
Okay.
Hold on, David. Can you go up to the
No worries.
mic, please?
Sure, yeah.
Give us your name, address, and go forward.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Mello, and I'm the Regional Director for Elwin in Massachusetts. And I took a few notes. I wasn't, because this is not a hearing, I really wasn't prepared to get up and give a whole spiel, but I wanted to take the time to address a few of the concerns that you have that are legitimate. You know, trash removal, snow removal, all of that is legitimate. I can share with you that in the state of Massachusetts, we have 10 group homes. I have to say, we do a vehicle that's parked there most of the time. There'll be 2 staff vehicles, so that's making it 3. There could be a third staff there, depending on what's going on during the day. But typically, there's not going to be any more than 2 to 4 to 5 vehicles. Our traffic, I feel, is minimal. Deliveries are minimal, like we do not have much delivered to the house. If I was trying to brainstorm like what we actually do have delivered to the house, we buy our groceries, we're residents, we're buying our groceries in the grocery store, we're going to Walmart to buy our stuff, so nothing's really delivered to the home. Trash, I mean, we hear what you're saying about your lighting. Lighting's your typical one-family home. You know, we'll have front lights. We might have a side light and a back light, but nothing that would be anything more than what a typical one-family home would have. No signage. We do not put signage out, so you would not even, no, people won't even know that we're there. Mailbox would be your typical mailbox, just your typical size, probably right next to one of yours that you have. Snow removal, our typical practice is to hire someone to plow the driveway, and that typically includes some sanding, but it's just for safety reasons. But if that's an issue, we can certainly talk about that as well. But we will definitely have somebody come out and plow the driveway.
Thank you.
Yeah, anything else? I tried to get everything that you mentioned, but, you know.
No, we'll see where it goes after the taxes are paid,
Yeah.
and then we'll go forward.
Yeah, so we were not aware that the taxes had not been paid. That's the property owner's responsibility, so we did actually reach out to him today. So we're just waiting for his response. And he's been responsive with everything else, so it could have just been a mishap.
Okay,
Okay? All right?
thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Let's not keep this going.
It's not just limited to vehicle traffic, but also foot traffic. You know, like I said, there's
Yeah.
a group home on the top hill here, and it's just constant foot traffic. Up and down the street, they loiter at the end of the driveway smoking cigarettes, and that's just not what we want to encourage
Oh,
in
sure,
our front
oh,
yard
sure.
and everywhere
Yeah,
else. So
of
that's
course.
just, it's not just the vehicle, it's
Yeah.
the foot traffic of the residents
Yep,
also.
yep, no.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, so, next thing on our agenda is the ADU bylaw update. That would be Val.
Yeah, we're just glad to hear from the Attorney General that they approved the ADU after an extension that they took. So
This is the one that we passed at town
the one
meeting?
that town meeting passed
Okay.
last March was approved by the Attorney General, so now it's in effect. And then they took the extra time to write up all the things they'd like us to change at the Springtown meeting to be consistent with the state law. And so, use the setbacks that we just adopted at Springtown meeting. Use the setbacks that we just adopted at Springtown meeting. And also, take a look at any other exemptions. One of the things we want to make sure we include is that they're not short-term rentals. And that's allowed to be regulated by the town. So those are probably the two things that we're looking to change. I'll read through, it's a 6-page response from the Attorney General's office, but we want to keep it on the books for anything over 900 square feet. And anything 900 square feet and smaller is now going to be exempt from local zoning.
As of when?
On February 7th, I believe.
Okay.
And so we expect to see a lot of,
So anything over 900 feet, we can keep all our rules in place?
yeah,
Okay. And anything over 900 square feet will require a special permit?
right,
And if they wanted to do a second ADU, that requires a special permit?
Yep.
But is there any control on a second one, or is it the same rules as the first one? Just with a
Well-
special permit?
Today, they sent out a notice that they have new regulations posted in draft form. So I haven't had a chance to look. And they're going to have workshops next week for people to start seeing what the draft regulations are. And those regulations are gonna really specifically regulate these things at the state level. So we're still wrapping our heads around what this will look like. So I'm speaking in broad terms because it's still very in flux. It's the best way to describe it.
What do you mean by second EDU? Okay.
Well, the state is kind of suggesting that there can be more than one.
Yeah, they are.
There could be 2 EDUs on one
There could be
property?
3,
Could be
there could be
3.
4, there could be 5, but they'd be subject to a special permit.
Okay. Well,
That's the
That's,
state law, yeah.
huge
Yeah.
law, change,
The state strikes once again.
so, like right now,
Good
if someone
Lord.
came in, what bylaw would they be following? Ours?
Ours, that was adopted in March of last year,
Yeah,
and then in a couple weeks, we have to be able to process people applying under the state exemption, which is why we want to do the changes now, so that we
Yeah.
can have them in a written form by the time February 7th rolls around.
yeah, people will probably wait anyway.
Crazy
until,
battle.
yeah, they're gonna wait if they have.
It's a really, we have 22 forages, we're moving ahead with our local bylaws, so it depends.
Yeah, okay,
Well,
terrific.
once again, our state leadership has let us down. We can't control what our town looks like. We can't control anything about it. Our ADUs have always worked. In case anybody that's listening in the public, an ADU is very similar to what we used to call a in-law apartment. And we have come up with these bylaws to try to keep families together. And the one thing that worked about this that never caused, that kept it there from being problems was that they had to be owner occupied. Now our lovely state is saying it doesn't have to be owner occupied. We no longer have a say in that. And so once again, we've been let down by our leadership and we've been let down by the state. Because these things are absurd. This is an absurd bylaw that we're going to have to adopt. And we're going to have to deal with. So,
Yeah, we're better off having something on the books that gives us at least what we can think the state will allow as reasonable regulations than doing nothing.
yeah, it's kind of like putting a big sign at the edge of the town when people drive into Kingston that says, "Welcome all slumlords." Because anybody can buy a property now and add all these ADUs and have all these rentals, and we have no control of it.
Yep.
So, there you have it. It's wrong. It's very wrong. But our hands are sort of tied. So, there you have it. Thank you for the update, though.
Adjusted when it got recodified. So we'll do
We
that.
found that when that barber shop applied for a permit, we found out that they, according to the way it was written, they don't comply, but we knew they do.
Yeah, so we just want to
So-
fix that.
So you can't just fix typos, we have to actually, like, does it have to go to town meeting and be voted, or?
It's a clear enough change that it has to be voted. It's not a Scrivener's error. Okay?
So it wasn't part of it, okay. I'm confused. So it was more than just transferring the information from one format to another?
Because we completely reformatted the zoning bylaw,
Yeah.
the wording was moved and changed and put in a table. And when that happened, some of the uses should have been carried over weren't by mistake. And it's not a simple typo. It's more complicated than that, so it needs to go through town meeting.
It's allowing something that is not allowed, which
Yeah.
a Scrivener's error would never do. So,
Right, a Scrivener's error would be like, we used the word TWO for two, we meant TOO, something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And Ring Road Solar, just very briefly wanted to say we did go out and do a full site walkover with the Ring Road Solar people. That's the solar array over the cranberry bogs on Friday. And we came to some agreements on them adding more fencing to prevent people from getting too close to the wires that are there, and also adding some sleeving and things like that around the wires that should work. And we expect that we'd become,
See, one of the things, if you remember, when they proposed this, they said everything is 10 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And so it's out of reach. Well, come to find out, the post where they hose the wires is 10 feet, and then it droops down in between, like this. And then you've got to consider this could be somebody on a machine harvesting cranberries. You've got to consider that the water, when they flood it, could be up, way up high. All these things that were not brought up, and because it was supposedly out of reach, turned out not to be so. And the voltage was much higher than anybody understood. So the electrical inspector in Plumpton and the two electrical inspectors in Kingston, Lenny Warner and Steve Ellis, were very uncomfortable and they would not sign off. So all these things have come up and they found something in the electrical code that required protection. And that resulted in some of the coverings on the wires and the fencing. So they've been held up for a while. They've got a lot of money invested there. So there you have it.
Yeah.
If, you know, it wouldn't, it's a real concern because, you know, we have somewhere in that thing where they talk about training for the people that are gonna be harvesting bogs. And I mean, people who harvest bogs can change every year to help because they're always looking for bodies to help. I mean, it is a concerning situation. I don't like it, but there we are. Thank you, Val. Anything else?
No. I just noticed that the minutes are there, but I just noticed there's a typo on the agenda, that your next regularly scheduled meeting will be January 13th, not January 6th. And you have your calendars.
We
that
have
gave you.
the list, yeah, the whole thing.
So,
Do we want to address the minutes tonight, or do we want to delay?
Yeah, we can address them. I think everybody was here for that meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we have is
Pretty well.
the minutes of October 28th, 2024. Is that correct?
yes.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 28th, 2024 as presented.
I'll second those.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of October 28th, 2024. All those in favor say aye. Aye. It's 3-0. Okay, and next meeting will be January, what, 13th?
13th. So we're wishing everyone a happy holiday.
So,
Yes, happy holidays to all, and to all a good night.
move to adjourn?
Yeah, save your list, yeah. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are now adjourned.